everyone, I'm Alicia. The 4th of July is also known as Independence Day. It commemorates the signing of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. Think of it as America's birthday. When most people think about July 4th, they think about fireworks. But do you know why Americans display fireworks on the 4th? We'll show you the answer at the end of this video. Americans kick up their heels on this holiday in many ways, but people mostly go to picnics and barbecues. It's also a day to be patriotic, so you'll often see the American flag and people dressed in red, white, and blue. Parades are another common sight on the 4th of July, especially during the daytime. Why do they take place during the day? Because as soon as it gets dark, Americans gather to watch magnificent fireworks in the night sky. Some families set off small fireworks in their driveways, and some gather in parks or by the sea to see the larger, more professional firework displays. The most outstanding firework displays take place in New York City and Washington, D.C. Both of these displays are televised nationally, and the president even attends the display in Washington, D.C. On the 4th of July, you'll hear the U.S. national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. The words were written by Francis Scott Key, who was inspired to write the lyrics after witnessing the Battle of Fort McHenry in the War of 1812. And now, here's the answer to the quiz. Why do Americans shoot fireworks on the 4th? The custom of shooting off fireworks on Independence Day can be traced back to a quote by our second president, John Adams. He said that he believed that July 4th should be celebrated by pomp and parade, with shows, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations. Hi everyone, I'm Alicia. Columbus Day celebrates the day that Christopher Columbus first arrived in the Americas. The holiday is celebrated on October 12th, and in some cities, there are very large parades and many other events. It's particularly popular in US cities with large Italian populations, though it's celebrated nationwide. A famous American charity organization is named after Christopher Columbus and takes part in celebrations during Columbus Day. Can you guess which one? We'll show you the answer at the end of this video. In Italian-American communities, particularly in the larger cities in the US, Columbus Day is very much tied to a celebration of their heritage, in addition to the celebration of Columbus's arrival in the Americas. Cultural and religious images and symbols specific to Italian Americans are abundant in Columbus Day parades. If there's one thing that defines Columbus Day celebrations in the US, it's the parade. New York City is particularly well known for its large Columbus Day parade. San Francisco has the longest-running Columbus Day celebration in the United States, dating back to 1868. Columbus Day in the US is not celebrated in every state. In fact, some US states do not recognize it at all, and many schools remain open on the day. There is controversy surrounding this holiday, and it's been changed to a celebration of Native American cultures in some areas. Columbus didn't realize he'd arrived in the Americas. This is why Native Americans are sometimes referred to as Indians, which, incidentally, some say is politically incorrect. Columbus initially thought he was in the East Indies. And now, here's the answer to the quiz. Do you know a famous American charity organization that's named after Christopher Columbus and takes part in celebrations on Columbus Day? The Knights of Columbus is a charitable organization with very strong Italian and Catholic roots. They participate in just about every Columbus Day celebration. You'll find them marching among the participants in any large parade, to be sure. Hi everyone, I'm Alicia. Thanksgiving is one of the most celebrated holidays in the United States. It also marks the beginning of the holiday season, the weeks leading up to Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and the winter solstice, which are all widely celebrated holidays in the US. For retailers, Thanksgiving begins their busiest season. Thanksgiving is celebrated on the 4th Thursday of November. Thanksgiving was founded as a national holiday by one of the most famous presidents of the United States. Do you know who it might have been? We'll show you the answer at the end of this video. Thanksgiving, to a large extent, is about having a feast with friends and family. Turkey is the traditional main course with yams, squash, pumpkin pie, cranberries, and other rich and filling foods rounding out the meal. Some families spend weeks preparing for their Thanksgiving feast, and to stuff oneself is most certainly encouraged. The Thanksgiving meal of today is rooted in the meal that the Pilgrims from Europe shared with the Native Americans on the first Thanksgiving. This was quite a feast. Turkey, duck, goose, squash, corn, and a plethora of other foods were shared between the Europeans and the Native Americans. This original fete was said to go on for 3 full days. Football is another tradition during Thanksgiving celebrations in the United States. Watching the football game while preparing the Thanksgiving meal is an important part of the celebration for many families. Families that aren't sports fans, however, may opt to spend the time outside, enjoying the crisp autumn air, or may find other diversions to enjoy while the turkey cooks. Thanksgiving is not a uniquely American holiday. There are similar celebrations in Canada, for instance. The concept behind the holiday, showing thankfulness by having a feast, spans many cultures. And now, here's the answer to the quiz. Do you know who founded Thanksgiving as a national holiday? Abraham Lincoln established Thanksgiving during the dark days of the American Civil War. Even though the holiday was officially born during this conflict, it's more associated with the initially good relations between the first European immigrants and the Native Americans. Hi everyone, I'm Alicia. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is held on the third Monday in January every year in the United States. This holiday is dedicated to the slain civil rights leader who advocated nonviolent action as a way to reform discriminatory laws in the United States. Martin Luther King Jr. Day was not accepted by all 50 states right away. It was signed into law in 1983. Do you know when all 50 states adopted it? We'll show you the answer at the end of this video. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a federally recognized holiday, but there are celebrations in some cities and not in others. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is tied to the civil rights struggles of the 20th century and beyond. It's very much associated with the struggles of the African American community in particular, but it's also celebrated by most people in the US as a unifying holiday. Celebrating Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy is a complex endeavor. For most people, what he fought for and how he fought for it are equally important. King advocated for the rights of African Americans and other groups who were discriminated against via racist laws. He also advocated nonviolence, and the images of riot police beating unarmed, nonviolent civil rights protesters in the 1960s are largely credited with swaying public opinion. Teaching African American history is a major component of many Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebrations. In fact, many of these celebrations and events tried to inform people about other civil rights leaders who were instrumental in reforming exclusionary laws in the U.S. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is also celebrated in Hiroshima, Japan, where it is nearly as significant as it is in the U.S. The city of Toronto in Canada also holds festivities in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. And now, here's the answer to the quiz. Do you know when all 50 states adopted Martin Luther King Jr. Day? Martin Luther King Jr. Day was not officially recognized by every state until 2000. Though President Reagan signed it into law in 1983, many states resisted the holiday or tried to term it something else, such as Human Rights Day in Utah. Hi everyone, I'm Alicia. On the third Monday of February every year, the United States pays tribute to its first president, George Washington. Washington's birthday is a federal holiday, and federal government workers get the day off. It's not as widely celebrated as some other national holidays, however. Sometimes the holiday is referred to as President's Day. There's a rather odd tradition associated with Washington's birthday and President's Day. Try to guess what it is. We'll show you the answer at the end of this video. Washington's birthday is not among the U.S. holidays that are associated with large-scale celebrations. There are celebrations in some cities, but compared to other major holidays in the United States, this one is rather reserved in nature. Washington's birthday is often part of the combined President's Day celebration. Most of the time, President's Day emphasizes the two people who are generally considered to be the greatest presidents of the United States, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Washington's birthday is culturally significant to the United States because of General Washington's revered place in history. He was the first American president, and beyond that, He was handed a unanimous electoral college victory to win that office. He is also the most celebrated general in the Revolutionary Army that defeated the British. The biggest celebrations of his holiday are held at the George Washington Birthplace National Monument in Virginia and at Mount Vernon. George Washington designed the first medal intended for the average soldier. The Purple Heart, one of the most respected U.S. service medals in existence, is given to soldiers who were injured in battle, and it was designed by Washington himself. And now, here's the answer to the quiz. Believe it or not, sales are a tremendous part of the traditional Washington's birthday and President's Day celebrations. Furniture stores and car dealerships are particularly notable for holding sales on this day. Hi everyone, I'm Alicia. Groundhog Day is a fun tradition in the United States. It's not a national holiday, and nobody gets a day off, but everybody waits to see whether the groundhog predicts that spring will come early or late. It takes place on February 2nd. Punxsutawney appeared in a popular movie about Groundhog Day. Can you guess what the movie was called? We'll show you the answer at the end of this video. Groundhog Day comes at the time of year when winter has dragged on for quite a while and when people are ready for spring. Of course, the groundhog really cannot predict whether spring will come early or late, but when he predicts that spring is on its way soon, people are generally much more chipper. Groundhog Day might not be a national holiday, but it's certainly an important and well-known tradition in the United States. Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, which is as close to the national capital for the holiday as there is, receives approximately 40,000 people every year who come to celebrate the day. Groundhog Day involves a rather simple tradition. When the groundhog looks out of his burrow, his prediction is based upon his choice to either go back into his burrow or to come out. If the weather is cloudy and he doesn't see his shadow, the legend holds that he'll stay out of his burrow, signaling that spring is on its way soon. If he sees his shadow and goes back into his burrow, it means that there are 6 more weeks of winter on the way. Groundhog Day is for kicks, and not about being accurate. According to most reputable sources, the accuracy of Punxsutawney Phil, or any other groundhog, is close enough to and as significant as the accuracy of chance. And now, here's the answer to the quiz. Do you know the movie in which Punxsutawney appeared that was about Groundhog Day? Not too surprisingly, the film that featured Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania was called Groundhog Day, starring Bill Murray. The film's plot centered around Bill Murray's character living the same day over and over again, which happened to be Groundhog Day. How was this lesson? Did you learn something interesting? Had you heard of this holiday before? Please leave a comment at EnglishClass101.com. Until next time!